what I'm going to do is hopefully you guys can see my screen, and I have the donnery.info/Excel, and we have the sheet right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this full screen, and here's my first trick. I have glasses and I have fairly large screens, but everything becomes small on my very large screens. So if I wanted to zoom in on anything in Office, I could hold down the control key and slide my mouse wheel forward, and it'll make it a lot bigger. So it's going to be easier for you guys to see that. So there you go. So I've scrolled it, made it like this. All right. So I'm going to start off just a simple spreadsheet to dollars and the gross pay. All right. So I'll go ahead and type these guys in really quick. You can play along at home if you wish. That's how I had all these classes written. But if you want to sit back and watch, that is fine too. All right. Now, when I was doing these classes as full 3-hour classes, at this time I would say, hey, there are 3 questions out there right now. The first one would come up and says, hey, Don, why did you start off at B3? I always start off at A1. And the only thing that I could come up with was experience. So I could start off at A1, and a lot of you probably do, but my boss could come up to me and say, hey, put our name at the top, and then I'd have to move stuff around. So let's move around stuff pretty easily. One of the things that you can do is you could just select on the row, right-click, giving you a context-sensitive menu, and then you could say insert. So that would insert a row above whichever one you've selected. You can also say, I want to add in a column to my spreadsheet, and you could click on the column that you would want to add to the left of, right-click, and then insert that again. And that's also going to add a column. So what happens is it's going to always add the insert above and to the left of what you're going to do. So you're not going to stick anything at A1. But for me, hey, I could just, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything I want to move. So I'll click in the middle of name, drag it down to so it picks the gross pay and Smith. And then if I go over the top of the outline, I'll get a black crossed arrow. Then if I click, hold, and drag, I can move it around and just select right there. So it becomes pretty easy that way. All right, the second question that comes up is, hey, Don, you typed in Fredrickson, I see Frederick So. What do I need to do to see more of him or her? Does he or she need to gain weight? That was a professional joke. That wasn't even mine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here between B and C, select between B and C, click, hold, and then drag. And if I drag, it's going to make the column to the left-hand side of mine larger. This is great for just 5 people. But what happens if instead of 5 people, I'm going to have like 500 people, which is very typical for a lot of the stuff that I'm working with. So boom, 500 people. And the last person is going to come from the very blended family of Peterson, Smith, Monroe. All right. So if I'm all the way up here, how do I know how big I need to make this so that I can see everything? Well, I'm going to go here between the B and the C, get the black left and right arrow, but instead of clicking and dragging, I'm going to double click. 1, 2. It's going to look down the entire list of things that are in that column. It's going to find the largest one and make the column that large. Now, the follow-up question to that point is, hey, Don, wait a second. Does that mean that if I get rid of that person, it's going to also get rid of, it's going to change the column size for me? If I click on that, that's a no. So the reason that I want to say that is because I usually do all of my work in making sure that everything works and does what it needs to do. and then I make it look good. Otherwise, I would be making it look good and then doing more work, and then it would mess up, and then I'd have to do more work, etc. All right, the last question that comes up in about 5% of my classes is, hey, Don, you typed in Frederickson Jones Monroe, you typed in 9.5, 9, and 10.25. You didn't do anything different, but they look different. Frederickson Jones Monroe is pushed to the left-hand side. The pay rate is pushed to the right-hand side. Why is that? This is because Excel and nowadays just about everything on the web and all of computer stuff except Word will say, hey, if I can do mathematics on it, I will push it to the right-hand side. If I can't do math on it, I'll push it to the left because I'll figure it's text. I make a big deal out of this because sometimes people ask me to figure out what's going on with their spreadsheets. And if I see, sometimes I'll see like 9.5 times 2, and it gives them an error. I'm like, yep, that's absolutely correct, because you have 2 decimal points in that first set of numbers, and numbers don't have 2 decimal points, they can only have 1. So what I'm going to do is get rid of that first decimal point, and boom, 9.5 times 2, it gets pushed to the right-hand side, and there we go. Awesome. Now, I also did a few things in there kind of quickly, but I'm going to show you, so now you see where I'm using it and how I'm using it pretty fast. And I'll explain to you some of the things that I did there also. Now, first one, I showed you how to do an insert, but I was inserting one column or row at a time. Now, what happens if I have 2 new people and they both begin with P? I want to put in 2 people above Peterson. I could go ahead and hit 7 and then insert twice, but this is like tips and tricks. This is to make it a little bit faster. So if I want to insert 2 rows, I'm going to select 2 rows and then say insert. What this is going to do is it just tells Excel, hey, I'm going to grab I want you to put in 2 rows instead of 1 to the next one. And you can do that with as many rows as you wish. So if you wanted to put in 10 rows, click on 1, drag it down, get 10 of them. When you say insert, insert instead of insert rows. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in Parker and Pierce. I'll say that they both make 10 and 11, and that they're 40 hours. All right. Now, some of you had said, hey, I don't do the math. I'm doing lots of data, which is cool. But I got started in spreadsheets actually 32 years ago because I hate math. So I was figuring that I could do math on the computer and it won't have me do it. So if I wanted to get 9.5 times 38 for Frederickson's gross pay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by saying equals, because that's how we do all functions and formulas. And I'm going to say times the pay rate, and then I'm going to use the multiplication, which is shift 8, times the hours. And that gives me 361. Now, most of you will probably say, hey, I know how to do it from there. I'm going to take that formula and copy it, Control C. That will take that formula, copy it to the clipboard, and then I'm going to paste it down here as far as I want it to go, Control V. And sure enough, it takes that formula, changes it so that it works in that instance, and pastes it within that location. Now, another thing, then the next question that comes up at this time is, hey, Don, I see those marching ants going round and round. How do I get them to stop? That's one of my keyboard shortcuts. It's going to be the escape, spelled just like escape. Anybody fans of Finding Nemo? Escape, swim, no? Okay. So if you hit the escape key, poof, that disappears. Now that is also the way that if I started to write something over the top of it and said, oh, nope, that's not what I want it to do, I would hit escape. You'll notice that the computer guys who use spreadsheets a lot will hit escape just a couple of times if they're trying something, like, because we don't know exactly what's going on at this point. We can just say we can get back to a point that we know by hitting escape, and that's going to bring us to our spreadsheet waiting to go. Now, some of you will go, but Don, that Control C, Control V, this is all tips and tricks, and that took us way too long. That was 2 steps, and I can do it in 1, and you'd be absolutely correct. Now, I could select that formula that I want, the C4 times D4, but instead of Control C, Control V, I can take my cursor and go down here to the lower right. There's a little splotch there, but that splotch is something specific. It is the autofill handle. So when I go over the top of it, it says, hey, I could click and drag it down, and I would be able to take that formula and copy it all the way down. Pretty good for only having 10 people, but if we had lots, that would be a lot of time, and I would probably go below it and then above it, etc. So instead, we'll go to the lower right-hand side, and if you double-click 1, 2, it'll find the end of your data, and it will copy it up to that point. So for the Corey, Linda, and Ashley, who are all talking about using lots of data and manipulating it, this would be very good for you, because if you had 1,000, 10,000, or 100,000 records, you could just double click and poof, there it is, rather than copy and paste or try to autofill it all the way down.
So I know we're filling our brains with lots of information. I'm just checking in if anybody's got any questions along the way.
Awesome. Yes, please.
How are we doing, crowd? Thumbs up?
Stump the chump. I'm the chump.
Okay, I think you're good to keep going. Just wanted to make sure we give them a little break. Lots of information to absorb.
All right. So what I did again was just double click and drag it, or double click, and it went down. The one thing that you're going to have to recognize about this is that there has to be something to the left-hand side. It has to know when to stop. So if I had my gross pay out here just a little bit further, like right here, and try to double click, it might not work. In fact, doesn't work because it doesn't know how far down it should go. There's nothing to the left-hand side to tell it. So I'm going to come back here. Now I have something to my left-hand side. And if I double click it, oops, I picked gross pay too. Click on this guy. Oh, there we go. Now, some people don't understand or didn't know about autofill. And they're like, hey, Don, that's really cool. Is there anything else autofill will do? I was like, yeah, a whole bunch, actually. So if you had 1 and then 2, cool. It's just a series, 1, 2. I'll bet you it goes 3, 4, 5. Excel knows this. Select the first one, drag down to the second, lower right-hand side autofill handle, click, hold, drag down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cool. What it does is it does a linear interpolation. So it does it linearly. And that's why I could say 1 and 3. I'm going to do all the odds. Select on the first one, drag down to the second one, click, hold, and drag 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. I got the impression that Corey was doing engineering kind of work, etc. So it is a linear interpolation. It doesn't do exponents this way yet, but I'll show you that a little bit later. Does it do more? Absolutely. What about days of the week? Monday and then Tuesday. I can click on this, double click, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. How about months? I'll do it as abbreviations, Jan, Feb. Click, hold, and drag down. Boom. January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Perfect. How about dates? Now, I didn't do this one at the very beginning, so let's hopefully that this one works. I've set up my computer, so I put my year first. So let's see if my computer will figure it out. Click, hold, and drag down. There you go. Days of the week going from first to last. Last one that I want to do. So for some of you, you go, hey, I need to do something at the end of the month. Do we know what the months are, ends of the month are? We would have to think about 30 days, half September, go around a tree or something along those lines. But let's go ahead and try that out. So if it's 20, 21, 12, 31, and then 20, 21, 01, whoops, 01, 31. Whoops, wrong one. So now, drag it down, and look at that. It does the ends of the month. And I didn't do the right one, so I should have started here at 2019. Because what I wanted to do was it knows better than I what leap years are. So if I select 2019 to 2020, double click, 2020, 29, so it knows that 2020 was a leap year and that 2021, 2028 was not. Awesome. Dates. We probably use a whole lot of them there, and I'll show you a couple of functions and stuff that helps you out with those. Any questions so far? Nothing yet. All right.
Well, I got one.
Beautiful.
So you say you got all those dates done and you're like, gosh, I don't want that layout anymore. Can you change the formatting to be in a different formatting now that you've got it all lined up like that? Can you choose to switch it so it looks
absolutely different? Absolutely. And another thing that I was going to go through, but since we're asking right now, that's cool. So what I did was I selected those dates, and right up here on the number location, it says date. Oh, okay, cool. And it's going to do the date that is part of your computer. Again, I put my year first, month, and day. But it comes down here and it says more number formats, and it has those 3 dots. Now, I've had over 10,000 people go through my classes, and I'll bet you that 1/3 of them still remember those, what the name of those 3 dots are. And I'm going to call out Kelsey, because I think she took one of my classes. Do you know what those, oh, nope, she doesn't know.
No,
that's called an ellipsis. Pardon? Okay, it's called an ellipsis, which means that there's something that comes after it. This is a Windows, Mac, Google standard. So if we ever see those 3 dots on a computer, we know it's going to ask us something rather than do something right off the bat. So when I click on it, it comes up here to date, and it says, oh, here's your sample, and we can now change it using this. Now, I'm going to guess that she was probably going, oh, what I wanted to do was I wanted to go 3/14/2012, click. So it's going to do month, day, and year. So now if I click OK, month, day, and year. So we can change that when we want. And that also is going to come up a little bit later, but I'll show you how that works at that point. Awesome. Stump the chump. I'm the chump. Any questions? Kelsey seems to.
Don, we had another person join us. Maybe if they had anything they wanted us to help cover today, they would just say out loud, unmute themselves and say that if they want to.
Sure. Hit it. Yeah, I asked why you're here and what you're up to get out of this class. I don't see your name. I don't know where it is. But if you want to pick something particular, Trish, what you might be looking for. Most people were looking at data.
Maybe she's having some sound issues, but I know she works at a resort, so maybe a similar issues that other people are too, that they might be trying.
Okay. So data it is. All right. Beautiful. All right. So let's start playing a little bit more. Instead of with autofill, let's do flash fill, because autofill is linear in thinking. Is just, it says you're doing this, I know how to figure that out. But how about we do something that's not quite linear? So for example, I'm going to start a new thing, open it up, and I'll put in a couple of names. Howard Smith, Molly Peterson, and Isak. All right. Now, I've got these names, and this is very typical when I get information from other people. They will say, oh, I'm going to put everybody's full name in there. And it's like, no, I wanted it to be first name and last name so I could say, dear Mr. Jones, or hello, Dilbert. So I could go through and do it with a function, but that's way too much work. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just say, I wanted off of the stuff to my left, I wanted it to say Dilbert. Then if I select this, come up here to my home tab, and then under fill, there's one here that says flash fill. This will go through Excel's mind and look at what I've done and try to take a guess at what I want. So when I say flash fill, oh, it goes through and it says, oh, Alice, Wally, and Aesop. You wanted them to be the first names or the characters before the space. Beautiful. Now, for some of you, it might even, as you start typing it out, give it to you, because you could have flash fill running in the background and say, I think I know what you're trying to do. So I'll go ahead and put in Jones here, and then I could drag it down using my autofill handle, but that's not what I want. So going to that autofill options, when I click on it, that bottom one is also flash fill. So if you can't find it, you could just copy it down and then do a flash fill, and then smart enough to say, oh, you probably wanted this. So Gilbert and then Jones. Let's do it in reverse. What happens if they give us two things and we want to put them together into one? Well, I could say Gilbert space Jones. And then if I flash fill this one, oh, Alice Smith, Wally Peterson, etc. All right, beautiful. Now, let's get a little bit more complicated. I have Gilbert Jones, Alice Smith. And what I want to do is I want to get their initials. How would I do that? Well, if I go here to DJ, I could say, hey, go ahead and give me a flash fill. Let's see if it's smart enough. It was smart enough. Okay, that one I guess would be smart enough. So it was smart enough to go, oh, those capitalizations with the spaces, yeah, we wanted that. Here's one that I do a lot. I have a whole bunch of people and I have to make email addresses for them. So I have Bill, Fred, Andy, and then John.
Don, is it smart enough? Don, is it smart enough for it to do if you had two last names, or to say a double first name, like Mary Ellen or something like that?
Ooh, Mary, you know what? There you go. I like that. Let's say Mary and then Mary Ellen. Now, are we trying to pull them apart or put them together?
I just was imagining if you said, say, as Mary Ellen Smith, would it be smart enough to do initials or not? Not
okay.
smart.
Oh, see, there you go. I love it. I'm going to guess no, because I don't like I don't trust it 100% when it's hard. And then that's what the computer guys are about. So if I do here, MS, oh, that was stupid. Do MS, and then fill, flash fill. And yes, it was smart enough. Now, let's see if we can break it apart. Oh, I would need to I need to break it apart. So I would need, oh, yeah, you know what? It will be. It's going to be, but I might have to give it the a little bump on how to do it. So let me see. If I said Diana Wilkes, and then Mary Beth.
I was just going to say that the great thing about your tips you're sharing is also it's good to play with it a little bit after you've learned them, right? So you can see where there might be hiccups or just how wonderful they are and how you can apply them in unique new ways.
Yes. Well, okay, because I'm going to help train it a little bit. You've heard of that actually in AI kind of stuff, where you have to train your model. And I think that right here, not to say that this is any close to AI at all, I'm going to train it because that's one of the things I want to do a little bit later. But I'm going to guess that Mary and Mary Ellen, now if I do a flash fill, it should figure out Mary Beth. Flash fill, nope, not smart enough. We looked at the data in your selection and didn't find the pattern for you to do. So not that smart here, but I'm going to show you how to do it if it's a little bit easier. But give me one more second here. I was in the process of doing emails. So I could say, yep, I want to do Bill at example.com. And then now that I have, it's smart enough to say Bill, Fred, Andy, I'm like going to go, oh, no sweat. I will go here to fill, flash fill, and it says that name at example.com. So yes, I have done that one before for emails because I would be setting up a fairly large company and uploading it all there. I didn't want to make a mistake and have one go to example. Now, teaching about training the AI or training the thing. this is what I was going to do. So if I have something like a watch that is women's, and then a scarf that is man's, and then a shirt that is men's, and then a card that is women's, and a pencil, and I'll do that in lowercase, as a men. Now, I might have to train it. I could say that, yeah, this first one is W, but the second one is actually M. So now that I've said, oh, I really want the things that are after the hyphen, if I select it, come up here, and flash fill, it's not like that. Oh, come on. You guys know it. You did it before. Select again, drag it down, and then let's do select. One, one more time, select right there, flash fill, there it goes, boom. So it was smart enough, and it might be smart enough for Kelsey, what she was talking about. So if I said something like Diana, I might have to select all of these, maybe bring Diana down, then do a flash fill. Nope, that's smart. Again, not too terribly smart. I would figure out a different way to do it. Do it one more time. Nope, not smart enough. Stupid computer. All right, but that's flash fill. And it could be really nice, especially for those people who are doing with lots of data, to, if you're not too good with formulas and functions, you could go ahead and give Excel a try at parsing out your data. All right, any questions? I'm actually behind time, weird. All right, now, one of the things that I also wanted to show was I create a lot of spreadsheets. I've done spreadsheets for the bending of a plane wing, for wind loads on electrical generating windmills and million-dollar projects. But if I could do something, if I could get a head start, that's great. So I would go ahead, and if I'm looking for something, I would say File and then New, and it's going to show me all of the different templates that are available here. One of them that my daughter was just working on, she was like, oh, hey, I want to go get a house. So we might want to figure out how much she could afford on a house. So I could find a simple loan calculator. I could go ahead and say loan right here, but I've already selected it up here. So double click, it's going to then bring it down. And now it asks all the questions that are necessary for you to get a loan. So how much are you going to try to get? What's the annual percentage rate, number of years, start date of the loan, and then it gives you the cool table of what you're going to be paying off and for how long. So if somebody is looking to do something particular out there, your boss says, I'm looking for a timesheet, I'm looking for a loan calculator, I'm looking for something else. First thing that I would do is look at the templates that are already there, because that would save you a whole lot of work. All right, any questions about that? All right, now, when I heard somebody. Yep, it's just me, I guess. All right, now, when I would talk about the classes, especially when I was doing 2010, I would say that in 2007, our spreadsheets had 65,536 rows. And people would ask me, how do I know that? Because I would hit the bottom of that a lot. You guys have lots of data. So in 2010, they changed that to be 1,048,576 rows, at which people are like, how did you get down there so fast? Well, what I did was I was holding down the control key and I hit arrow down. What that does is that is looking as I'm going down, and it looks for any letters, numbers, or anything within those cells. If it doesn't find anything, it goes all the way down to the bottom and boom, you're done. So for example, I know that I have a few things up there on around B12, B10, 11, I guess. So if I hit control up arrow, boom, there you go. It says there was nothing between where you were and up to Smith. So boom, there you are, M. Smith. And now that I'm within the text, it says, oh, I'm going to allow you to keep going until you find another blank. So control up arrow again. Main is the last thing that was full of text, and then I have a blank. So control arrow around. That's what I do a whole lot. Another thing is to find the ends of your spreadsheet. For people with lots of data, you would go, hey, I want to go down to the very bottom and type something new in. That's control N right underneath home, and it says this is the last thing that you have. Mine is over here on M because I put in all of that data. But control M or control N over on the gang of 6 on the right-hand side, that'll find it pretty quick. And what happens if I want to go ahead and get to the very beginning column, column A? Well, I hit home. Oh, home will take me to column A of whatever row I'm on. We also have arrow keys, arrow up, arrow down. Now, we also have more keys up on the upper right-hand side of your keyboard, page up and page down. Now, when I learned how to type, I learned that there's 52 lines on a piece of paper. So I was always afraid to hit page down because that would take me to line 53, right? Because that would be the next page. But when we page up and page down on Excel, it's the next visible page. So for example, I see 1 to 20 and I see most of 21. But if I page down, it goes from 21 to now 40, and I see most of 41. I could hit this, etc. So I could hit page up and page down, and it's not going to skip anything. It's always going to show me what it's looking at. All right, beautiful. In other words, it's not going to skip. It's going to show me what's going on. Any questions about that so far? That's a couple of them. I'll go over a couple more towards the end of my handout. All right, functions. Before you do anything for your boss says, hey, I want to find out what the loan amortization is or a payment or anything else like that. Before you try to figure that one out, most likely Excel already has this formula for you. So if you're going to try to find it, you could hit the F of X up here on the formula bar, click, and it shows search for a particular type of function. You could type that out looking for. So for the most part, usually I would say I'm looking for something about payments for a mortgage. Mine's a little broken again, but if I do something like payment, PMT, then I can click on go, and it's going to say, oh, payment, which calculates the payment for a loan based on constant payments and a constant interest rate. That's a typical home loan. Cumulative payment, I payment, is payment, P payment, returns payment, etc. So if you were looking for something, you say, yep, that's it, payment, I could double click on it, and then it's going to bring up the function arguments. It's going to show you which ones are necessary, things like rate, end per, and present value, and things that are optional, future value, and type. So you can just type those in if you wish. And I'll say something like 5% on monthly number of payments. I'm going to do a 360 and present value of $100,000. And that gives me approximately $536.82 per month on a 30-year loan at 5%, etc. And again, instead of typing all that out, you'd be putting in the function or the formula location or the cell locations for that instead. And click OK. There we go, 536. Now, let me show you one or two more functions that I use frequently that you might want to use. Now, the first one is I want to know today's date. So I could type that in, or I could say is equal to today, open paren, close paren. The only one that I know of that has no arguments handed to it. It just says, what's today's date? And when I click on it, there you go. Today's date is this. Now, the cool part is when I open it up tomorrow, what's that date going to be? It's going to be the 27th. So it's automatically going to make changes for me as I continue on. So makes your life easier when you're trying to figure out how many days out is this? What do I need to charge them for interest because it's so many days over, etc. Because it's already there. Awesome. Another thing that I do frequently is concatenate words that are on a spreadsheet. So I could say, this is great. Now, I want to put those all together. I'm going to say is equal to A4. And now, if I hit plus, that would be to add up two numbers. But for me to add pieces of text, it's a double ampersand. No, it's a single ampersand, isn't it? And so I need to put in, well, so I could say A4, A5, ampersand, A6. So it says, this is great. Not exactly what I wanted. What happened was I didn't put in any spaces. So for me to put in additional stuff, I'm going to put in the actual spaces. So quote, space, quote, ampersand. Quote, ampersand, quote, space, quote. So now this is great. This is, and if I change it, awesome, it automatically changes. This is awesome. All right. So that was date, or today, that is ampersand or concatenation. Let me think, anything else? All right, how would I have fixed those other things? Like Kelsey was saying like, hey, she wanted Mary Beth Smith, and she wanted to get rid of Mary Beth and then Smith. So in this case, what I would do is I would try to find a particular thing. I would want to find the space, and then it's within the text right here, but now the start number. Now the start number says, where am I going to look? If I let it go right now, it's going to say it's going to find it on approximately 5. Oh, right there. But really what I wanted to do is I wanted to find the last one. And I believe, can I do it like this? Nope, didn't like that. Okay, so I would have to do something like I would want it to start at 7, and then I would find it. Now there are things that I could do. I could find it, keep finding it until I find the largest one. But what I would do at this case would be just simply to say, find its length of, it's ever in here, so 15. So I would go from the right, so start going from the right, from on this one, and then I'm going to take whatever H2 is minus E2. And that gives you Smith. So that would have been the way that I would have gone through, especially if we had 2 or 3, and it's always going to be the last space will go the last name. That's probably how I would have done it, going from the left to right, from the right-hand side, and then finding that last space. All right. So lots of questions, or lots of things that you could do with functions. Anything particular you guys want to know? Nothing? All right, cool. Let's go to the next one, a quick access toolbar. Now, I just did this for my Outlook, which is why I was like, oh, I should put this in here too. We can find all of our functions mostly in here, but sometimes you want to be able to get to them really fast. So I can click on this upside down eject button, and what it does is it shows me a lot of quick access tool or quick access commands that I might want to use. New, open, save, save as, etc. But really, I know where all those are. I want to know where print preview is. I want to do print preview a lot. So what I'm going to do is come down here to where it says more commands. It has those 3 dots, the ellipsis. So I know it's going to ask me something. When I click on it, it says here are all the popular commands. These are the things that most people would use. But I'm not most people. I'm very in the woods, in the weeds. So I'm going to go to all commands, and it shows me all commands that are available in Excel. I could look all the way down it, but what I'm looking for is PR. So it'll bring me down here to preferences, and then I can do print preview full screen. That sounds pretty cool. So I'm going to grab the print preview and add it to my quick access toolbar. Click OK. I now have a new icon up here that if I click on it, boom, it gives me my print preview. So I don't have to look through all of the things trying to find out where it is. Right. If you say, hey, I have that up there, I don't use it anymore. Is there any way that I can make that look better? Sure. You go back here to more commands. You click on the one that you don't want to use anymore, and then just simply remove it. Click OK, and there we are. All right. Cool. Anything about that? All right. Here's one. Again, I guess I didn't tell you that. Yeah, I've been using spreadsheets now for about 32 years. I've been teaching them, especially with Excel, for about 22. And one of the first ones that came in was this. They said, hey, Don, we started to put in dates like this, 01, 01, and then, 2022, 01, 02. And I'll just go ahead and take these and go across. Boom. Okay, now if you haven't ever seen that before, you have the railroad tracks, pound signs, octothorpes. What that means is what you have in there is a number that is too big to be shown in the cell, the amount of information that you've given it, the amount of space. So instead, I'm going to take all of those locations, go here to the very last one, and do the double click, just like I did for Frederickson, and boom, there they all are. But they said, oh, we put in all these dates, and we have Abe, Ben, and Frank. And now what we'd like to do, we understand that we did it wrong. We aren't changing the people, we're changing the dates. What we'd like to do is flip them around so the dates go down and the names go across. He said, we've been working on this for a couple of hours. Do you know of any way to do it faster? I said, absolutely. So I'm going to select everything, copy it, and then I'm going to put it so that the names start going across here, the dates start going down, and I did that by copying it, coming here to paste, clicking on the drop-down, and at the very bottom it says paste special with the ellipsis. So it's going to ask me a question. So if I click on it, it says, what things do you want to do? We can just get formulas, functions, operations, both of which I'm going to show you, but one of them here says transpose. Transpose, when you talk about a matrix, says it's going to make rows into columns and columns into rows. But when I click transpose and OK, boom, there we go. Abe, Ben, and Frank, all the dates going down. All right, so that's transpose. What other fun stuff can be done there? So we have a list of numbers. One, this, and this. Oops. And I want to multiply everything by 5. I could create a function and go through it, or what I could do is to copy the thing that I'm going to multiply by, select the numbers that I'd like to multiply, and then paste special, and then I'll say multiply. So take whatever I have, multiply it on my set of numbers, and when I click OK, there it is, 5, 20, 28. Take a whole lot of numbers, multiply it by that, makes it nice and easy. The reason that I wanted to do that, I did that backwards, was if you have a whole bunch of things that are like 20, 35, 45, and 100, and I'll do 50, these might be you might want to do percents. And of course, if I select these and make them into percents, it's going to multiply by 100. That's not what I want. So I'd like to divide those by 100. 100, select, I'm right here, paste, paste special, divide, boom. And then you can make them into percents, nice and easy. Yay. All right, so that was transpose, that was division. And then the last one might be just something that you're using to say, hey, I'd like to run through a bunch of different scenarios. So for example, here's everybody's gross pay. But hey, I'd like to check it out if I gave everybody a 10% raise. I could select this information, copy it, and now come down here and I'll paste special. And in this case, I'll just paste the values. So now it's not making any changes. If I change it from 9.5 to 10, nothing happens. But I can now say, oh, I want to give everybody a 10% raise, 1.1. Copy this, come here, and paste special, multiply. This is what it would look like with a 10% raise, and I still have the original stuff down here. It didn't change. So that's where I would be pasting just numbers, so it makes it a little bit easier, so I can keep my stuff in case anything happens. All right, beautiful. Any questions? All right. Now, one of my first jobs, and one of the first things I ever got paid for using spreadsheets, was doing takeoffs for engineering. It would say, how much does this going to cost? And the thing is, we could say that we want to have, I was doing it for plumbing at the time, so I could say pipe, which is going to take 10 hours, and then we could have, you know, somebody's pay rate right here. Oh, I'll tell you what, let's, yeah, so here's your pay rate is $55 an hour. And I could say is equal to this guy times 55 right there. So that's going to be $550 for that 10 hours. And I could say something like, oh, this is pipe, this is fittings, this is digging, and this one is elbows. I can put them in there. Like 12, 6, this one, and 5. Now I should be able to take this and copy it down. Click, hold, drag down. Things go bad. Now things go bad, and I can figure this out by clicking on this value. And for me to get into it quickly, one of my keyboard shortcuts is F2. F2 will take me into that formula rather than clicking on the formula bar. And I can see that, oh, C4, it just copied it all the way down. That's not what I wanted. What I really wanted to do was it to stay at C3. So I can go into this formula. And if I want to make this into an absolute value, I could put a $sign in front of the C and a $sign in front of the 3. This tells it that it's an absolute reference and that it shouldn't change as it goes down. So if I select this and copy it all the way down, now it all works. Now this happens very frequently, so much so that there's a keyboard shortcut to it. So if I have a relative reference and I'd like to make it into an absolute reference, one with the $signs, I could hit F4. When I hit F4, C3, they both become a static location. Now, what happens if I hit it again? Now it says C $3, which means if I move it left or right, it's going to change the columns, but it's always going to stay on row 3. If I hit F4 again, it says $C3, which means it's always going to stay in column C, but if I go up and down, it's going to change the row. The last one, if I just have C3, then it goes back to being a relative reference. So C3 is right there. Now, this is the way that I used to do it way long ago, and I had to always remember where was my value. Now, if I wanted to say billing rate, I might want to say that this one is in a certain location, and I'll say it's 60. Now, I don't want to remember that G1 is my billing rate. It's very difficult. So instead, I'm going to select that location and come up here to that name box that's on the left-hand side. It says G1, but I want to name it billing rate without spaces. Spaces are bad. So now, if I wanted to do stuff with a new billing rate, I could say is equal to that time times, and as I start typing it out, BILL, look what happens. It says, oh, wait a second, you have a named range called billing rate. Is that what you want? Yep. Hit tab to tab complete it. 600. Copy it all the way down. 600, 720, etc. So it's using that billing rate on here. And if I wanted to then make it a little bit more competitive, I could say it's 55, and then changes everywhere. Change it in one place, it changes everywhere else. Awesome. Any questions? All right. Now, I'm going to go back here to my sheet 1 again. And I'm going to just say, hey, we could change these pieces of text around a lot. So instead of Calibri, I'm going to make it Albanian or whatever it is. I'll make this guy bold. I'll make this guy italics and underline. I can make this guy background to it and, something here. Boom. This happens a lot because I'll be grabbing stuff from either other spreadsheets or from the web itself. So when I grab stuff from the web, it carries in its own formatting unless I tell it to format and paste as text, which I sometimes do. But when I get it all this way, I want everything to look like Smith. So what I do is click on Smith, come up here to the Home tab, and click on Format Painter. And when I click on it, I get the marching ants around Smith. So it says the next thing that you click on, I'm going to make look like Smith. So if I click on Peterson, look what happened. Got shoved back in. Everything was the same. It was just pushed to the center. Now, again, I can do that one at a time, but that's a whole lot of work. If I instead double click 1, 2, it's now a sticky key. So I can click on this guy, I can click on this guy, I can keep clicking, get it to work, or select multiple people, and boom. When I'm finally done, and I say, yep, I don't want this anymore, that's when I hit the escape key, just like escape, and boom, there we are. So format painting, really good. Oh, Linda has to leave. Bye-bye. All right. So that would be format painting, etc. Any questions? All right. 2 or 3 more things, because then I want to go to data, because people wanted to know data. So multiple cells, same data. So if I come here and I have a bunch of data here. Let me just start here. Right here, then in here. So I have like 9, 5, 6, 3, 4, and some of these guys are blank. Okay. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to make all the blank ones 0, because it really should have something in there when we have lots of data. I could do it the hard way by clicking on this guy. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything that's blank in here, and it's pretty easy for me to see because there's only 5 of them. I'll hold down Control, which will allow me to select discontiguous pieces of information or discontiguous cells. So I can click on this guy, and then this guy. Now, if I wanted to put 0 in there, I could type in 0, but now if I want to put it in everywhere that I've selected, I'll hold down Control and then Enter, and it makes everything that I've just selected 0. But some of us are going to have lots and lots of, data. So maybe I'm just looking for, I want to select just the blanks. So if I do the right click, I believe, what was it? Control G, is that what it is? I think, try that instead. Control G, special, and I'm looking for blanks. There we are. Control G, go to special, look for blanks, and now finds all the blank ones, to which I could then hit 0 and then Control Enter, and it makes everybody else 0. So if you're looking to fill in your data, you could find blanks by hitting the Control G to go, and then it'll select all of the particular ones, such as blanks, constants, current region, arrays, fun, different things like that. All right, beautiful. Any questions about that? I'm working on this. All right. The one thing that changes a programmer from your normal person who uses Excel is just the ways that we think and the ways that we make our lives a lot easier. We try to be as consistent as possible. So take, for example, I have a bunch of different sheets in here, and it says like, you know, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. And what I want to do I'm zoom in here a little bit. I'm going to put in a couple of numbers. Copy this, Control C, and then year 2, year 3, 4, and year 5. Now, I want to try to get totals. Since I named everything the same, and I also put it in there at the same location, I could do some fun things. The thing that you use to add stuff together is sum, the function. So sum. Now, it says, what's the number? And if I were to select something, I could just now go here to, say, Y1 and click, and it says, oh, there it is, Y1, A1. But I wanted to go across all of these different sheets. So I'm going to put in the range, say Y1 colon Y5 right there. And I don't want to just sum A1, I want to sum A1 through A5. So what does this do? This summed everything from A1 to A5 on all of these years. So that should give me something to the tune of 15, 30, 45, 60, 75. So there we go, totals. So you could go across multiple sheets if you named all those sheets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So sheet name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Awesome. Any questions? All right. Wow. I thought I was going to run out of stuff. Couple of keyboard shortcuts, and then I'm going to go on to dates. A lot of times I'll be doing stuff, so it'll say like, hey, I want to type in A, type in B, type in C, and I can say, no, 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 I want to undo that. One of those key combinations that I ask people to remember is Control Z as in zebra, which is undo. So if I undo, there's B, and then there's A. It's like, oh, no, 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 I really should have, I wanted to keep B. I wanted to keep the other one. So instead of undoing that, if I want to redo something, that is actually either right here on the home ribbon or Control Y, which will put back what you want. So Control Z will be undo, Control Y will redo that last command. So you can go back and forth. Again, this is something that happens all throughout Windows and on Office. All right, F2 will get you into the formula, as I said before. So F2, that's a quick way to get in there and just start typing because I'm much faster at that. And one of my other favorite ones is, hey, I want to see what all of my formulas are. So on sheet 1, I have all these formulas here. I want to see what's formulas and what's been typed in. If you hit Control and then grave accent, so it's to the left of 1, it says, oh, here are the formulas and here are the things that we typed in. So I knew that these were formulas because we did that before. And remember, we pasted these as numbers. So it's saying that, yep, this does not have a formula. This is just a a cell value. Come back here and there we go. All right, let's get to some data first, because again, I would hate to think that I would talk about things that you guys don't want to know about. So I'm going to go back here to this, go to Donnery.info, classes, cell, and now I'm going to do sorting list. That'll be the first one that I'll do, just because this one, it doesn't have a lot of data, but it will probably have some of the stuff that you're looking to do. Select, drag in here. And that didn't work. There it goes. All right, so enable editing and zoom in. And here are a bunch of tree sales for a bunch of different counties. All right. So first thing, yeah, the Scotch pine, they didn't have 1.5 million and 22 bundles. It should be about 15,000. So if I put that in there, we get 286,600. first thing that we might want to do, again, Corey was talking about inventory. Linda was talking about a bunch of data and things like that. And Ashley probably has inventory to do. We might want to sort it on different things. So Ashley's might be on different artists or different types of art, sculptures and things like that. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to sort it by county in this case. I'm going to click here somewhere in county, come up here to home, and then over here to the sort and filter, I'm going to sort A to Z. This, as an old guy, would scare me because I would think that it would sort the county and break the relationship between month, county, type, and bundles. But because all those things are together, it says, nope, it quickly just kind of flashed on there. And now we can see that it says May, Cook County, Cook County. So it changed the month order and now put everything into county order. Pretty easy. Yay. Now, what happens if I'd like to sort it by type and then sort it by county? I could sort it by type, but as soon as I go back here to county, this is what I'm going to get. So if I'd like to sort on multiple items, I can click here on sort and filter and then custom sort with our 3 dots, the ellipses. And in this case, it's smart enough to know that my data has headers right here. But if you want, if that doesn't happen, you click on it like this, it's going to be selected, and then it's just going to say sort by column B, column C, etc. So if you have headers, but you still see column B, remember to click on this My Data Has Headers. All right, so first I'd like to sort on type, and then I'd like to say if there's a tie in type, then I'd like to sort it on county. I'll do this one descending, V to A. Click OK, and there we are. Blue Spruce, Itasca, Lake, Cook, this one, etc. So you can sort them, and you could also sort them on 2 different items. All right, cool. Any questions about that? All right, I'm going to go back and just sort these by month again. Makes it a little bit easy on me. But for, again, Corey and Ashley and others, you might be looking for specific things. Hey, show me all the people out of St. Louis. Show me all of the artists who have sculptures or anything like that. So instead of looking at this data and all of the data and sorting it, I'd like to filter it. I'd like to take out stuff that doesn't match. Select on the drop-down, and I'm going to come down here to the funnel, which Microsoft strangely calls a filter. Click on it, nothing happens except I get a drop-down here on all of my headers. So I want to find out how many trees were purchased by Cook County, or excuse me, St. Louis County Blue Spruce. So I'm going to say the type, click on this. It shows me all the different types. So I'm going to uncheck select all and instead select Blue Spruce, click OK. And now select, click on this, and now select St. Louis County. Oh, I have 1. So 1 St. Louis County Blue Spruce, 15,000 gives me a total of 286,000. Kind of weird. Let me just look for all blue spruces and show you what's going on there. So instead of just the county of St. Louis, I want to get rid of that. I could come in here, click, and then try to find that. Or if I just click on here, I can say clear, and that gives me everything back again. So if I'm filtering stuff out, I could then say clear, and it gives me my information again. So looking for just all of my blue spruces, click on this guy, click OK. Here's my blue spruces. 15, 22, 13, there's no way that makes 286,000. The reason that I get 286,000 is if I look at the formula, it says sum up everything from D5 to D21. Even though we don't see some of the stuff that doesn't match our criteria, it still will get summed up if we ask it to. So wait a second, maybe we don't want to just see everything like this. Maybe we want just off the cuff. How many blue spruce did we sell? If I select all of the quantities down here on my lower right in my status bar, I can see that the average was 19,320. I have 5 of them that I've counted, and that the sum total, the grouping of that, was 96,600. So if you're doing a quick off the cuff kind of numbers, like, hey, how many blue spruce did I sell? I would find that set of information, select it, and then look down at the bottom to say, oh, the sum of this is 244. All right, click on this and say clear. Boom, back again. All right, I know some of you are going like, yeah, that's kind of cool, but my boss really wants to see that information. Is there a way that I could like show that as like how much blue spruce did we search, or how much did we sell to Cook County, et cetera, or how much did we sell it by month? All right, I'm going to select this. I'll get rid of my filter. And in this case, I'll select in here, come to data. So I work a lot with data and I play around with it. So I use this tab quite a bit. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to make a subtotal out of it. I'd like to say at the change in something or other, give me the grand total in this case. So I'll be anywhere within my data, click on this, and then click on subtotal. Smart enough to find the information, all of the information around it, and it says at the change in each what? So I'm going to say at the change in each month, sum up, and I want to sum up the quantity in bundles. So now when I click on it, it says, oh, look, April, boom, April total, 125,000 trees in 237 bundles. May total, September totals, and I even have a grand total of 286,600. Now, for some of you, you would have 2-3 years worth of data, and that would give you 36 rows on top of what we have here. So you go, no, I just want the sum totals, what's left. Well, if I'd like to roll it up, that's what these things are over here on the left-hand side. So if I wanted to roll up just April, I can click on this minus sign, and it will hide all the details that make up the sum total for April. I could also do it for May, I could do it for September, and I can do it for the grand totals too. But if I have a lot of data, I can just come up here to the 1, 2, or 3. Like if I wanted to do it by month, if I clicked on this 2, it rolls up all the 2s to give me the totals and then the grand total. When we're playing with data, make sure that you're using the tools that Excel gives you, because right here, when I created my own, this guy is now 3 times higher than it should be, because now it has the details, it has the sum totals, and now it has the grand total. So it's 3 times as high as it should be, and that's way off. All right, beautiful. So that's going ahead and grouping by the data that we have here, grouping a bunch of data that we have here. Any questions about that? All right, let me show you the last 2 really powerful things. And then I will leave it open for questions, which I'm hoping to have 5 to 7 minutes on. All right, so click on here, got to get rid of the subtotals. So click on subtotal, remove all, boom, I'm back here to my information. Now, when we play around with data, I want to talk about 2 different vocabulary words, 2 things that we got to know. The first one is an independent variable, and an independent variable just is. So because our Earth goes around the sun and it's at a certain location in its orbit, we call this April. We could call it May, we can call it September. An independent variable just is, and it usually has very little variability within your list. In this case, by month, it only has 3 unique values to it. Because of some lines on a map, we have St. Louis County, Itasca County, etc. So again, independent variables. The second vocabulary word is a dependent variable. The dependent variable is dependent upon the independent variables. So for example, because it's April, St. Louis and blue spruce, we have 15,000 trees. Now, if we change just one of those, if we change from county St. Louis to Itasca, we have a wildly different number, 22,500 trees. So changing an independent variable will wildly change the dependent variable. And dependent variables usually have high variability within our list. There's all that stuff there. All right, independent variables and dependent variables. Now, why did I tell you this? Because our boss might come up to us now and say, hey, this is really cool. What I want you to do is I want you to show us how many trees were purchased by county and by type. Okay, boss, let's go figure that one out. I'm going to click anywhere within my data and then come up here to insert. And on the far left-hand side is one called pivot table. That if I click on, it finds the range and says, what would you like to do? I'll put it onto a new worksheet, click OK, and poof, there we are. We have a spreadsheet that says drop column fields here, drop row fields here, drop value fields here. What it really meant to say was drop independent variables here and here, and drop dependent variables here. So what did the boss ask? Show us the number of trees that were purchased by month and by county. All right. So I play solitaire once every morning. So I'm going to do it the old solitaire way. I'm going to click on the county, drag it over here to the county, drop column fields here. And when I let go, it finds all of the unique values, Cook, Lake, Itasca, and St. Louis, and puts them in. Now the type, click on this, drag it in, finds the unique types, and now quantities, click, drag in here. So faster than I could say, drag in here, it went ahead and summed all that data up, and poof, there it is. I see that Blue Spruce has 65,000 trees. I want to make sure that that's the case because I don't trust anything that comes from Excel right off the bat. So I can come back here to sheet 1, Itasca. I could select on the first one, second one, this one, and this one. I think I messed up on that somehow. Let me try this again. Itasca Blue Spruce, that helps. Itasca Blue Spruce, which is right here, and Itasca Blue Spruce. So 22.5, 42.5 gives me 65,000. So it's giving me the right information. Look back on this, and this is where, when we start doing math, then the boss says, what does this show us? What are we seeing? I would go, I don't know. I don't see anything here that I could exploit. How about we take that same data and slice and dice it in a different way and see if we could see something else? So instead of by type, I'm just going to uncheck type and now check on month. So now I've moved the month and the type, and now, maybe, oh, no, maybe I'll just do, I think I messed that up. I'm going to do month and by type of tree. Roll. Let's just uncheck it. Month and type of tree. So type of tree right here. And the month. So see that. Didn't like that, but boom, there it is. And then quantity. Boom. All right. Taking that same data and slicing and dicing a little bit differently, I can see that, hey, Scotch pine looks like it only gets purchased in April, and that very few trees are ever purchased in September. So maybe this is a trend that we would like to exploit by saying we can send out a flyer that says, hey, did you know that you could buy Scotch pine all the way until September, like any tree, and it would survive through the winter? So you could look at your data, perhaps point at why people are doing this, and if it's not correct, give them an education as to why that might be correct. All right, that gives us by month and by type, but maybe we want to look at it on a county by county basis. I can select this county, drag it up here to the report fields, and looking at all counties, I can pick one at a time, like Cook. There, that gives me just one, or I could pick multiple counties by selecting on the multiple items, and I'll do St. Louis Lake, not Cook, click OK. We have multiple different counties, types of trees, and by months. All right. Last thing, then I'm going to open it up to questions. All right, so we have all of our stuff right here, but hey, this is a bunch of data, and if you hand a bunch of data to your boss, they get those really weird cartoon wiggly eyes kind of stuff, and they don't see it very well. So maybe we would like to draw this out. what we'd like to do is make this into a graph. I'm going to click anywhere within here, come up here to Insert, and you can come here to Pivot Chart. And Pivot Chart, which is going to take this data range, put it onto a new worksheet, and when I click OK, one more time. Oh, did I? One more time. Pivot Chart. That's not what I wanted. Huh. This is me messing around with my computer too darn much. Insert, Pivot Chart. Okay, and there we go. So now I have a pivot chart, and I could then do it by months. And whoops, I'm down here. I want to put on the legend of months, week, county, the axis, and then I'll do it by quantities. This is right here. And quantities, and then drag it down here. Boom. So now we can see, hey, this is how many trees were purchased by county and by month, April, May, and September. So we can then give this to our boss, and they don't have all those googly eyes trying to figure out what we were doing with all those numbers. All right, I finished 10 seconds early. So I'm opening up the last 7 minutes to the questions that you might have. Again, it's a stump the chump kind of thing. If you have something that's concerning you at work or something that you're trying to do, let me know. Looked like Corey had someplace else to go. Anybody else? Oops. Nothing. As far as I know, yes, today's will be available to review. Now, since you left, and if you say, hey, this is kind of cool, there's actually a couple of things, a couple of websites out there that I have that might help you out here. So I'm going to come back here to my tips and tricks. And if you go to learnwithdonb.com, oops, if you spell it correctly, that will be a bunch of different classes that I've done for Cook County Higher Ed. If it comes up, it doesn't, might be down. And privacy here, yeah, it's got to get that certificate back up. Here we go. Intro to Excel, Excel functions, WordPress, various other things like that. Or, as I said, I also teach for UMD, their core and other class. So if you go LSBE Excel classes, currently they're just open right now. So you can just walk in and take a look at all those. And that's got 10 hours of instruction on it too. There you go. You would just go to say, hey, I want to learn Excel core. And then there's your handout data and then continue the video. It's going to ask you for your email. Don't worry about it. You can put in anything you want. This is how I just kept attendance. So I could say someone at somewhere. Oh, and then there we go. You'll be able to take a look. So lots of stuff about that. Formulas, again, other fun stuff.